It's the midweek edition of Business Morning on Channels Television. It's time for current and relevant business talk. You're welcome. I'm Amy John McQuan. One of the current stories is oil prices. It rose today as a reported drop in the U.S. crude inventories increased concerns about tight global supplies amid the hit to Russian exports from economic sanctions. Brent crude futures climbed $1.77 to $117.25 a barrel. And that's after it fell 14 cents in the previous session. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures rose $1.51 to $110.78 a barrel. The market remains on edge over the prospect of further sanctions on Russia, which is the world's second largest crude exporter after it invaded Ukraine. Prices dipped yesterday as the European Union seems unlikely to agree to a ban on Russian oil. However, U.S. President Joe Biden is set to announce more sanctions on Russia when he meets with European leaders tomorrow in Brussels, and that also includes an emergency meeting of NATO. Well, we come back to Nigeria now. A landmark project never seen before in this part of the world. That's a 3 million metric ton per annum fertilizer plant built by Dangote Group in the Lekki Free Zone area of Lagos State has been inaugurated. The facility, which is said to be the second largest urea and fertilizer plant in the world, was commissioned by the President Muhammadu Buhari, and the history-making event was witnessed by prominent Nigerians across all walks of life.
It's a roll call of bigwigs in the political space, including state governors, party leaders, the President of the Senate, Speaker, House of Representatives, captains of industry, and an endless list of other distinguished guests who have come to witness history in the making. It is big, audacious, and it has to be him, Africa's richest man, Alhaji Aliko Dangote, putting Nigeria on the world map of economic recognition and influence. He's about to unveil a 3 million ton per year capacity urea fertilizer plant. The chief host is the first to speak. He reveals what this whole plant is about.
The new plant will make Nigeria self-sufficient in fertilizer production with excess capacity to export to other African markets and the rest of the world. Our products have already reached African markets and some to the United States, Brazil, India, and Mexico. It is an ambitious development. It is an ambitious developmental project which will drastically reduce the level of unemployment and youth restiveness in this country through generation of direct and indirect employment.
And then a floodgate of speeches.
In addition to the lessons we learned from the protectionist actions of countries during the early days of COVID-19, this investment is again a glaring testament to the foresight and tireless efforts of Mr. President in encouraging domestic production of goods that can be produced in Nigeria, especially in agriculture.
Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu is the plant's landlord, and he tells us how proud he is about the event.
The idea around having a free zone in the Bejuleki area was conceived by our leader, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And I was with him in 2003, 2004, when we took a trip to China and we were trying to conceive a free zone. And today here, this free zone is not only home to the largest fertilizer in Africa, but will certainly be home to the largest refinery, a single refinery in the entire world, come later in this year. And so we're indeed very, very excited that our host community continues to remain home to all of these big projects.
After listening to all that has been said, the President mounts the rostrum to deliver his message, which precedes the commissioning of the massive facility.
This fertilizer plant is expected to further advance our administration's drive towards achieving self-sufficiency in food production in the country. I commend the Chairman, Board, and Management of Dangote Industries Limited for their business initiative in capitalizing and building this plant to reduce our dependence on importation of fertilizer, create jobs on a massive scale, increase the inflow of foreign exchange, and accelerate economic growth.
Here are some of the things you should know about this plant. The Dangote fertilizer plant is the biggest in Africa. and the second largest in the world. It has been delivered at an estimated cost of $2.5 billion. This is the Dangote Fertilizer plant here in the Lekki Free Zone, Lagos, and it's a beauty to behold.
That's right. The Dangote Fertilizer plant is expected to disrupt the space. So let's hear from the Chief Executive Officer of FarmCredit.ng, Mr. African Farmer Mogaji, joining us now to, as a farmer, tell us his expectations. Good morning, Mr. Mogaji. What are your expectations from this plant now that we are celebrating at this time?
Well, first and foremost, I think we should first celebrate the visionary leadership of Dangote Group for always going ahead of the industry, and we are always doing catching up. Well, knowing that United States and other countries are having challenges with fertilizer, there's no better time for this fertilizer factory to be launched than now. So farmers in Nigeria, in West Africa, would be at peace, considering that most of our operations can't be done without fertilizer. So let me use the word, it's a bailout for farmers in Africa across board. I'm sure that if we work well, we won't need Dangote to export those fertilizers because we all need it.
But from your experience in the agricultural sector, what structure do you think can optimally get these fertilizers from Dangote to the farmers who really need it? So we don't have the story of the middleman who will increase the cost, or, you know, it just goes in somewhere and it becomes a deal for a group of people. What structure can the government or even Dangote put in place so we're ensured that it gets to those who really need them?
Well, first thing first is that the model in which, don't forget, they just didn't start yesterday. Yes. When it was launched. You know, they tested the market in the last 1 year. They brought in new players into the system, not only relying on the existing ones. We have new distributors coming on board. We have, in fact, quite a number of freshers have come in. Their business model is slightly different. They're not looking strictly into the existing channels. So there are new entrepreneurs that have evolved. I'm even looking at leveraging that system now, but it's been cascaded down. The price is also very attractive. So I think they've got it right. Don't forget they are the cement gurus. So they know the distribution and they are doing, you know, well by just bringing in new entrepreneurs into the system.
All right, thank you, Mr. African Farmer Mogaji. All optimistic there, and we do hope to see the fruits of that optimism in a short time, especially as we officially launch the plans. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you for having me.
So we'll just take a breather. When we come back, another relevant business talk will come your way. This is Business Morning on Channels Television. You're welcome back. Well, the 10th Global Money Week holds from the 21st of March to the 27th with the theme, Build Your Future, Be Smart About Money. We'll find out how to be smart about money this morning. With Junior Achievement, Nigeria has always been interested in financial literacy. So now we have the Executive Director, Folusha Gbadamosi, to tell us how to be smart with money and why they're so concerned about financial. Hello, Folusha. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah,
good morning.
So we celebrate this every year in Nigeria. Are we making progress when we talk about financial literacy?
Yes, so thank you so much for having me. And yes, we do celebrate this, not just in Nigeria, but actually all over the world. So Global Money Week is celebrated worldwide, and the focus is on youth because obviously, you know, targeting them young is extremely important. Now, with regards to progress, yes, I believe that we're making progress in Nigeria. The strides of progress that we're making have been shown in some surveys. So for instance, there was a 2015 survey by PwC that says that financial illiteracy is 31.1% in urban areas and 68.5% in rural areas. Now, what we have to understand about those kinds of statistics is that we have a lot of youth who, you know, have never been enrolled in schools or who have been enrolled in schools and are not being taught financial education. And so this is where organizations like Junior Achievement come in, where we have interventions, where we have programs that focus on teaching the youth about financial literacy. And these youth are usually youth in underserved communities, in low income communities and things of that nature. We also have been running this program for quite a while. And our 2021 impact report shows that in the last 5 years, we have actually reached about 300,000 students, and 95% of them acknowledge that they will open up a bank account in the future, just to engage in behaviors that will help them make better financial decisions. So they were actually able to learn about the importance of making good financial decisions. So I do think that we're making progress.
Measure that progress by the level of our financial inclusion.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Can we measure that progress you're talking about by the level of financial inclusion in the country? I mean, financial inclusion is one thing we've been talking about with fintechs and, the new ways of getting into the system. Can we measure it by the level of our financial inclusion?
Yes, actually, we can. So, I mean, one of the real leading forces affecting people's ability to even access financial services, aka financial inclusion, is, rural areas and a lot of the issues that we have with, just the gap and the economic gap which actually causes that. So there was a report by Oxfam that shows that Nigeria actually has a pretty low financial inclusion gap of 40.1% compared to like South Africa, who has 11%. And this is because of lack of financial literacy. So, financial inclusion and financial literacy go hand in hand. You cannot be included in anything that has to do with finances if you don't even have the understanding, the education, the ability to even understand what it's all about. So we believe at Junior Achievement Nigeria that with the right financial education, it actually encourages more people, especially the youth, to plan their financial journey, which obviously will then lead to financial inclusion. So, for instance, tomorrow, March 24th, is Financial Literacy Day. We're so excited. We go to classrooms in different schools all over the country, and we teach them the importance of money. We emphasize the importance of being financially literate through information, skills, attitudes, behaviors, just keeping in mind that financial literacy is not just about the skill, but it's also about the behavior and the attitudes as well. And so we're going to be doing that all day tomorrow in different schools all over the country. There's a World Bank report in 2018 that actually states that 1.7 billion people around the world lack a bank account. And most of these people are, those in rural areas and actually women. So more of women and people that have that don't really have much income. And so that's why we spend so much time focusing on the population that is more marginalized, right? So the ones that have less exposure to financial literacy.
So tell us about this theme. What does it mean to be smart with money? I want to be smart with money.
Don't we all want to be smart with money? Don't we all? So
I know, right?
So it actually means a lot of things, right? It means a lot of things. But this year's theme is build your future, be smart about money. And it just captures the importance of thinking about our future when we're making financial decisions. And this goes for us, right, as well, adults. It's not just for the youth, because ultimately, your future and how you spend your money now are very much connected. So we're encouraging the young people to be forward-thinking and futuristic when it comes to their finances, right? So to realize that there's actually a connection between how you're spending your money today and what happens with you in the future. We have seen a lot of surveys and research that has shown that there's actually a huge relationship between financial literacy and poverty reduction. So if we're able to increase financial literacy awareness, it will go a long way in reducing poverty levels amongst rural people especially. And this is why we believe that teaching young people to be smart about money from a young age really helps them avoid some of those economic setbacks that happen in the future, because they start to understand that this is actually tied to their future. It's not just about spending money here, spending money now, enjoying my life. It's also about planning towards the future.
Yeah, and Junior Achievement Nigeria is partnering Bankers Committee. What interests do you have? What do you hope to achieve with this partnership?
Okay, so we've had this partnership with Bankers Committee now for several years, and it's a really amazing partnership, because obviously Bankers Committee is all about financial inclusion and financial literacy because of the kind of work that they do. At Junior Achievement Nigeria, one of our core pillars is financial literacy. So we have other ones. We have entrepreneurship, work readiness, and digital literacy. Essentially, we partner with them so that we can work together towards teaching the young people about being smart with money, learning financial literacy skills, raising conscientious business leaders, raising people that, are more intentional about finances in general. Because one huge thing that we have discovered, and not just in Nigeria, all over the world, is that so many people claim that they were not taught properly about finances and how that actually affects their future. So the partnership with Bankers Committee does that. And recently, Junior Achievement Worldwide was actually nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize in recognition for the work that we do all around the world, helping young people. So part of us serving as a conduit for peace and prosperity is also us being intentional about teaching young people about financial literacy, because ultimately, if you are responsible with your finances, if you learn about these things from a young age, it does help you be more responsible in the future, and that does promote peace in the nations that we live in.
Yeah, thank you so much, Folusho. I wish you all the best as you go out tomorrow. I really like this year's theme, being smart about money. I think it's very important for everybody to be smart about money. Thank you so much.
Really
enjoy the rest of your day, and wish you all the best as you go out tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too. So we'll take a break now. After the break, we'll do AFEX Commodities Market. Do stay with us. For the week ended 21st of March 2022, the AFEX Commodity Exchange saw more than 10% increase in the number of deals, while total turnover plunged by over 40%. We have Femi Kende, structuring and originating analyst with AFEX, to give us the details. Hello, Femi. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. So give us a rundown of activities for the week.
So like you rightly said, Metro 6 measuring liquidity on the exchange significantly declined for the reporting week as against the previously reported week. The value traded declined by about 44% as 810 million contracts were executed, million naira contracts were executed this week. Also for the volume traded, it declined by 37% week on week as 3.3 million contracts were executed for the reporting week. However, the numbers of deals increased by 10% as 541 deals were closed during the reporting week. For the financial benchmarks on the exchange, the AFEX Commodities Index and the AFEX Export Index actually increased compared to the previously reported week. The AFEX Commodities Index increased by 1.56% week on week, while the AFEX Export Index increased marginally by 0.07% week on week. For commodities traded across the exchange, maize and sorghum accounted for a significant proportion of the trade as 1.6 million contracts were executed this week, while soybean, cashew, and cocoa were traded for the reporting week. In terms of commodities prices, maize closed the week at 232 naira per contract, representing a 3.11 increase week on week. Paddy rice closed at 236 naira per contract, representing a 3.04% increase week on week. Cocoa closed the week at 1,290 naira per contract, representing a 7.42% increase week on week. However, sorghum closed the week negative as the commodity closed at 397 naira per contract, representing a 0.75 increase week on week, and sorghum closed the week at 225 naira per contract, representing a 0.10% increase week on week. For more information about our commodities report, you can check our website, which is www.afexnigeria.com, or you can follow us on our social media at AFEX Nigeria or COMEX by AFEX.
All right, Femi, thank you so much. So moving to other conversations in the commodity space, in recent months, the price of fertilizer and its ingredients have shot through the roof. The range of factors, of course, include the Russian-Ukraine conflict. This has added pressure, and if Russia's export suffers as a result of the war and sanctions, so does global supply. So let's zero in on this. Kindly explain the implication of high cost of fertilizer to smallholder farmers and their customers.
Right, amazing question. So over time, we've realized that when you look at the cost of producing a commodity, the cost of fertilizer accounts for a significant proportion of this cost. So what we know is that if there's a continuous increase in the cost of fertilizer, there are either two things the farmers could do. They can continue to purchase this fertilizer at a lower rate, which will eat into their profit margins, or they can substitute for organic substitute like manure and the likes. Now, if this continues to eat into their profit margin, we know that over time, there will not be enough disposable income they can plow back into farming. And as a result of that, the increased productivity that we are expected to see will dwindle over time. Also, when you look at how this affects consumer, we know that while the cost of producing commodities will increase, also it will lead to the increase in the cost of the commodities itself. And at the end of the day, consumers will actually have to pay the final price for it, because if a farmer is going to purchase NPK at a significant higher rate than he purchased, he will honestly want to sell the commodity at a higher rate to the processor, and at the end of the day, the processor might want to transfer these prices to the end consumer. So we just know that this is going to continue to eat into the pockets of every individual player in the value chain, and most especially the farmer. And we anticipate that if this continues over time, and there are no specific intervention to tackle this problem, the profit margins that farmers are expected to gain will continue to dwindle. And if this is the case, we know that farmers will not be able to plow back more income into farming, and as a result of that, lower productivity will continue to be the case in Nigeria.
And then, of course, will increase the risk of food insecurity, a very tight cycle there. But according to World Bank data, countries in sub-Saharan Africa are small consumers of fertilizer compared to other regions of the world. With the current prices levels, what do you think could play out during the planting season? I know you painted a vivid picture there, but at least now we have Dangote.
I mean, so it's a good thing that we've increased our productive capacity of fertilizer, but we still largely import a lot of the raw materials we blend in order to have the NPK and the likes that we use in our cultivation. And a recent survey last year showed, in 2020, showed that our importation of raw materials utilized in the production of fertilizer increased by over 500%. With the inclusion of Dangote's blending plant, this is actually going to continue to push forward. And if we're going to keep importing these raw materials like diammonium phosphate, MOP and the likes, we know that the increased cost would either be transferred to the farmer at the end of the day, if there are no schemes that will actually reduce the cost of these raw materials in the country. Even if our use of fertilizer isn't as much as developed countries, right? There are a lot of activities that has been put in place in order to encourage the adoption of fertilizer use in the country by both private and public players. And we've honestly, even if it's been slow, we've honestly seen the uptake of fertilizer products, the use of fertilizer, the use of improved seeds and the likes. So if the already existing smallholder farmers that are inclined to using fertilizer in order to boost their productivity, if they are not able to afford it, we know that it would ultimately affect the output or the national output that we're estimating. And at the end of the day, we know if you compare this to the consumption need we have over time, the looming case of food insecurity will continue to be the case.
And with the current realities of food inflation, record and spiking fertilizer that we're talking about, what are the immediate actions that the government could take to put in place to cushion the effects from players in the value chain?
So in my perspective, there are two folds, right? First off, the government could come from a production aspect, whereby the government can subsidize the cost of raw materials that are being procured in order to use or utilize in the production of fertilizer inputs. Also, even when the cost of these fertilizer inputs would be significantly reduced as a result of a fertilizer scheme or a fertilizer subsidy scheme from the production side, we know that farmers largely do not have timely finance to procure this fertilizer in order to quickly start cultivation at an earlier time to maximize the effects of the rainfall and the climate condition suitable during the wet harvest season, planting season. So if the government can continue to also provide blended finance or low-cost finance or timely low-cost finance that will actually enable farmers to enter into the market quickly, cultivate as early as possible, maximize their use of the rainfall in the cultivation of their commodities, this would cushion the effect of high cost of production or low productivity that might be the case at the end of the day.
AFEX, we know you as a leading exchange. What are you doing to help smallholder farmers?
Yeah, so thank you very much for that. So AFEX comes from two perspectives. Our solutions usually span in two areas. First off would be technology. The next off would be finance in terms of innovative products, right? So in terms of technology, what we are trying to do is we're trying to bridge the gap between players in the value chain. What this means is that farmers usually stay in areas that are not close to producers or away from economic hotspots. So because of this existing reality, we know that middlemen actually arbitrage commodities at the end of the day, buying very low from farmers and selling very high to producers. And because of this, the pricing of commodities isn't really transparent in the country. But as a result of our technology, we've been able to reduce the gap between the farmer and the end user, where the farmers and the end users can interact and all players in the market can see how prices are moving or what are fair prices for commodities at the end of the day. In terms of products, we try to provide different types of financial product that will aid or almost every player in the value chain. From a production perspective, we have our input notes where we, at the end of the day, raise finance in order to finance or provide finance for farmers for them to cultivate, rather for them to procure the inputs that will be utilized in the cultivation season. Also, from a producer perspective, we look at the asset-backed commercial paper where we provide where it's utilized in providing short-term liquidity for producers for them to enter into the market as early as possible and procure as much as they need for their fiscal year. In terms of also hedging perspective, we also plan to provide derivative products like futures and forwards where people can, or players, either the buyers and sellers or the producers and consumers can enter into the market, lock in prices and save themselves or give themselves some type of hedge or leverage over the spot movement of commodities prices at the end of the day. So yes, we will continue to use technology and we will continue to produce or churn out innovative, safe financial products that will translate into real economic growth in the primary sector.
Oh, thank you so much, Femi, and we'll be looking forward to the benefits from those strategies that AFEX is accommodating to help the smallholder farmers.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, have a great day and enjoy the rest of it. So it's time for the markets now, and I'm standing in for Will. We'll start with the equities market. The Nigerian equities market dipped further. Last week it was like this. The bear has a stronghold on the territory. Investors sold off Nestle, about 2.8% of that stock, and all share declined by 0.2% to close at 47,156.56. We're getting really close. I hope we do not lose that 47,000 points there. Month to date and year to date returns moderated by 0.5% and 10.4% respectively. Let's go to the activity chart now. Total volume of trades increased by 42.1% to 303.48 million units, valued at 3.90 billion naira, and it was exchanged in 4,616. We see that the activity chart was fully in green. Now let's see what happened to the sectors. A lot of red there, splash of red. We'll say banking was down, consumer goods seems to be the one who dipped the most there, 1.55%, followed by insurance. Insurance was also down 1.38%. Oil and gas, Seplat has been on this course for some time now. But let's go and see what's happening in the NESD OTC market there. It's remained unchanged. This is like the second day that it's unchanged. Yesterday it was unchanged also. The NESD OTC market, market cap is 586.46 billion naira there. And then go to the fixed income market. The bonds had 14 deals. Federal government bonds had 14 deals. And the most favored there was the 22nd of January 2026. We have Choma Udu now. Choma Udu is the fixed income dealer at GT Bank. She'll tell us what's going on in the market. Well, we've had a very silent NASD market for some days now, and some other happenings in the fixed income. Hello, Choma. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Good to have you, Choma. What's happening in the market? The decision of the MPC doesn't seem like it changed a lot of things.
Well, it didn't, because all the indices were retained. And we've seen a very quiet trading session across the yield curve, like you earlier mentioned. In the T-bill space, it's a quiet market with players looking to sell because of the tight liquidity we have in the system. The money market was up about 146 billion yesterday, and the liquidity was held with 42 billion from the OMO maturities. And, you know, basically there's this tight liquidity. We also have, we had a bond auction this week where 150 billion was on offer, and it was oversubscribed. You know, DMO was able to sell about 296 billion, and then we saw regulation of rates across the two tenors sales. So what we expect today is that there's going to be the bond settlement is going to happen today. We're going to see a lot of people trying to scramble to sell their short-tenured fixed income assets to be able to fund their winnings from the bond auction.
Yeah, so, I mean, help us to understand. Every time there's an auction, it's oversubscribed, and then it seems afterwards, then the market just goes to sleep. How do we explain that?
Well, March has been a very liquid system, money-wise. There's been a lot of liquidity in the system. We saw a coupon of over 640 billion in that space. So we've seen a lot of interest at the auctions from the DMO, both on the T-bill and on the bond space. This is as a result of investors trying to reinvest their coupons. And when you invest, everybody, and the DMO on the other hand, has also come to the party to sell as much as they have. So DMO tries their best to meet, you know, the demand in the system on the auction days, and then it just leaves the market with, you know, people looking to try and arbitrage. Well, everybody has the bond, so there's little or no space for us to really arbitrage or trade unless, you know, demand comes into the system via liquidity.
And then when we look at the OMO, the open markets, we see that we had 27 deals yesterday. This is kind of high, right?
Well, for open markets, it's basically trades amongst banks, you know, and 27 deals. Well, it's not anything out of the ordinary. We see banks trying to trade in that space to manage their liquidity, you know, to manage the excess liquidity they have, and also to generate liquidity for themselves. So I don't think it's out of the ordinary recipe, that number of trades in the OMO space.
Choma, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us this morning. Choma Odris, fixed income dealer with GT Bank. Just before we are done with the market, let's see in the treasuries and the treasuries bond. We had 12 deals yesterday. The 16th of June 2022 was favored, 28th of July, and the 27th of October, both for 2022. These ones are going to mature real soon. And then for the central bank bills, we had 21 billion naira valued of transaction yesterday in 11 deals, while the OMO, like I mentioned, was the highest. When you look at activities on the fixed income market yesterday, had 27 deals compared to 11, 12, and 14 from the other markets. Well, that's a review of the market yesterday. I'm sure let's hope for a better market, better outing today, and we'll bring that report tomorrow. We'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll do a quick opening call to London to stay with us. This is Business Morning on Channels Television. Welcome back. We head to London now, and there may be a bit of hope coming the way of some families in the UK as Rishi Sunak is promising security. Where we have Juliana joining us now to give us details of that security. Good morning, Juliana. What form of security are we looking at here?
Good morning, Inni. Well, at about lunchtime today, the Chancellor Rishi Sunak will be delivering his spring statement, and it comes at a time when Rishi Sunak is under intense pressure, especially because just about an hour ago or so, Inni, we received the inflation data, the long-awaited inflation data from the Office for National Statistics, showing that inflation in this country has hit a 30-year high last month, coming in at 6.2%. And now the last set of inflation data we had for January was 5.5%, so that's a massive jump, much higher than economists had predicted at 5.9%. This is being led by higher electricity costs, fuel costs, food costs. This is really being felt by consumers up and down the country, and it's only going to get worse, unfortunately, because of course we know in a couple of weeks' time the energy regulator Ofgem is lifting the price that we pay for our energy bills by as much as 50%, and then we've got this national insurance hike. So today there's lots that people are going to be expecting. I think that the Chancellor is likely to focus on fuel duty. That's the biggest one, because we know that besides everything, the COVID pandemic led inflation and higher energy bills. We've got this war with in Ukraine, and that's pushed up the cost of oil, and that is affecting petrol. So we're expecting a fuel duty price to be cut. There were some suggestions earlier in the week and on the weekend that it could be cut by as much as 5p, although government sources say that the Chancellor won't be prepared to go that far. And also, again, which is really important, is these low-income families, people that are working pretty hard but are getting paid very low. The threshold of how much you are supposed to be paying for national insurance is going to be lifted, we expect, from about £9,000 to just over £10,500. So this is going to release the burden on about 155,000 low workers. But there's going to be so much more. But he is expected to hit the dispatch box, Inni, at about 12:30. So just when I step in the studio to speak at Bising. But hopefully we'll get more details, which we can relay with you tomorrow.
Laddie wants to squeeze out some details on that from you during Business Incorporated. Well, in another matter, there's the update on P&O ferries, and they are saying that they didn't break any law. What's their defense?
Well, the defence from the CEO, Peter Hebblethwaite, who has obviously been under immense scrutiny since that awful sacking last week Thursday of about 800 workers on P&O ferries. Now, he has been saying that they haven't broken the law because none of the vessels, the P&O vessels, were registered here in the UK, and all of the workers were employed by a company outside of the UK. That is their defence, but of course that's not gotten far enough, because Kwasi Kwarteng, the business secretary, still says it is a criminal offence to not notify of an immediate termination. But again, P&O, they have tried to wash this all over. They are paying out, I believe, a compensation package of about £32 million. So of all of those 800 workers, nobody will receive less than £15,000. Some, I believe 40 workers, will receive over £100,000 in severance pay. But we'll just have to wait and see. It's still rumbling on, and I'm sure that is going to be a big feature during Prime Minister's questions later today.
Yeah, £15,000. That could make them look the other way. Well, thank you so much, Juliana. I'll talk to you later on at 1:30 Nigerian time.
Thank you.
Let's go to the crypto space now. Laddie, what's going on there?
Yeah, Inni, as you said, everything seems to be on the way up. Prices rising everywhere. And it looks like Bitcoin is also trying to join that trend going up. But we've seen the market sentiment now for the crypto space. It's fear at 31 points. We're seeing more improvement. You know, traders are getting more adventurous in the market at this point. We're out of extreme fear now, just that fear, but there's still fear in the market. Market cap, $1.91 trillion, is down about 0.53%, and I have a pullback in volume this morning at $87.47 billion in the total crypto space. That's the Bitcoin plus altcoins. All volume traded this morning. Bitcoin dominance, 41.92%. And we see price of Bitcoin this morning, $42,140, having a mild pullback this morning, down 0.22%. Traders are seeing another push back to get above that 3,000 mark at this point. Volume traded $26.27 billion traded in Bitcoin. We see Ethereum now below that $3,000 mark, but still quite close to it. It's down by 1.24% this morning. Volume traded $13.89 billion. And we see the top ultimate market cap there. We see BNB still holding that $400 mark. It's down 0.71%. Cardano, 96 cents, trying to get above $1. It's up 3.53%. And we see Solana there at $91, also trying to get back above $100. And 82 cents XRP. XRP quite stable still, you know, at this point. And, well, we see that the gainers list is quite lean, but we're seeing double-digit gains with Internet Computer trying to get up on that count as $19.31, up 11.65%. All right, let's bring in Gilbert Jopata now, a digital market analyst. Hello, Gilbert. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Ladi.
Yeah, so I saw a report that said Bitcoin supply on exchanges has hit a new low. We're seeing a decline. Is it that traders are taking their tokens off exchanges and holding it in their own decentralized exchanges?
Oh, yes, this is healthy to see. And it reminds me of the old saying, not your keys, not your Bitcoin. A lot of things are happening geopolitically this year, and I think it reminds everyone the essence of being in control of their assets. I expect this trend to continue, but looking at the market standpoint, more from an on-chain analysis perspective, you will see that Bitcoin is leaving exchanges. We also have short-term hodlers becoming long-term hodlers and leaving a free float supply available, and which is limited. Meaning that when institutions come into the market, all these Wall Street firms come into the market, they will be forced to bid up the price a little bit to enable them have a share of Bitcoin. A lot of happening, both from the macro geopolitical uncertainties and economic market uncertainties, is also informing investors to be in more control of their assets. And this actually is bullish as well for the market, because I like looking at two perspectives whenever I want to look at a market standpoint. One is the macro perspective, which the macro perspective, we also have an ascending triangle after a falling wedge, and these are two bullish market pattern. The only thing still keeping the market down at the moment is the geopolitical and economic uncertainties and liquidity tightening from central bank.
Yeah, quite interesting, you know, traders pulling out their funds from exchanges. But there's also that risk, you know, when your own bank, if you lose access to your wallet, you lose your money.
Okay, the idea of the decentralization comes with a mindset shift, which has to do with you being in control. So you're responsible for the outcome of your finance. But even though this exists, many people still prefer somebody to be responsible for their assets. That is why there are centralized exchanges and centralized wallets available. But I think it's more of a mindset shift of more persons deciding they want to be responsible for the outcome of their finance. That's why we see more going into decentralized exchanges. And this trend may continue as well.
I guess nobody wants to be controlled at this point. All right, so we're seeing Bitcoin now have, you know, kind of a pullback this morning, trading at $42,000. What are you seeing for Bitcoin price movement going forward this week?
I think we have a very healthy market. Like I said before, there is the macro perspective. We have an ascending triangle after a falling wedge. This is quite healthy. Looking at the on-chain analysis, people are becoming hodlers. Everybody is holding. The only thing, I don't like looking at the micro perspective where a little bit of little demand and supply may affect just some little changes here and there. But the market is healthy, both from the macro perspective and on-chain analysis. What will always hold us just for a little while is the macro geopolitical uncertainties and liquidity tightening. But we have a very healthy market at the moment.
We're seeing European Central Bank President Christine Lagarde is saying that Russians might be using cryptocurrencies and stablecoin to evade sanctions. You think that's bullish or bearish for crypto?
It is neither here or there. The Bitcoin itself means that anybody can access their own assets. But you should also know that we have less of Russians really using Bitcoin to say, because majority of centralized exchanges and wallets have cut all Russian citizens from using their exchanges or using their wallets. So we also have a large number of Russians not having ability to access Bitcoin or their exchanges or their wallets. Yet we still have other persons who have been in the system still using this technology. So it's neither here or there. The Bitcoin itself is decentralized, so anybody can use it. And I think this is one of the essence of decentralization of our finance, which means that anybody could have access to his or her own assets.
Well, we'll keep watching how sentiment plays out in the market and see how traders react. Thank you so much, Gilbert.
You're welcome.
All right, looking at top 5 gainers, we see Internet Computer back on that counter. It's up 11.65%. And the Ape token there, the Bored Apes NFTs, we're seeing that token all up in the news at this point. It's had a pullback recently, but now we're seeing it's trying to rally back up. It's up 10%, and we see Borocoin there, $23.79. And the top 5 losers, we see Rune there, is down 7%. Arweave, $31.60. And we see Zcash, one of the privacy tokens, $172 per coin. It's down 3.23%. So, Ini, this market is looking for direction right now, but it all depends on news. Right now, it's sentiment, traders ruling the markets at this point.
Honestly, it's just sentiment, sentiment, sentiment. I hope we will not hear that. So Putin is meeting with Zelensky, and so that will move the markets one other way.
That's all traders are watching right now.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much, Ladi. That's it on the program. Thank you so much for being a part of it for this midweek edition. We'll have another one coming up tomorrow. But before then, 1:30 will be Business Incorporated. Trust us to give you relevant, current and important business news on our business show. So let's do it again at 1:30. I'm Ini John Mekwa.